Hey everybody, I've got a nice little problem here for you. This is coming from homework. I'm looking at number 13, and it says an incomplete graph of the polynomial function f of x is equal to x negative x cubed minus 2x squared plus 13x minus 10 is shown on the right. And we've got to find all of the zeros of this function and then draw a complete graph of the function without using a graphing utility. So the first things first, we got to figure out the zeros, and it's giving us this graph that we can check out. So let's go ahead and let's zoom in here and let's check out the graph. And we're going to pay special attention to the scale. I'm not sure if you can read this, but the scale is -6, 0, 1 by -50, 15, 5. So this down here is -15 or -50, and it's going to go up to 15 in increments of 5. So 0, 5, 10, 15, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. And this goes out to the left in increments of 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And since this is negative, it's -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6. What does that mean for us? It means that this has a root when x is equal to -5. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to say root at x equals -5, and our polynomial is again negative x cubed minus 2x squared. So we have negative x cubed minus 2x squared plus 13x minus 10 plus 13x minus 10. And you know what I'm going to do with this information? I'm going to do -5, -1, -2, 13, -10. I'm going to do a little division so I can figure out what the rest of this polynomial looks like. So bring down the -1. This becomes 5. Bring down 3, -15. This becomes a -2, a +10, and 0. Great. That's exactly what we wanted to see. We need this to divide out because it does have a root there. And so then this is equal to x plus 5 times -x squared plus 3x minus 2. Okay. And now we're looking for the zeros of this. I'm actually going to call that negative x plus 5 x squared minus 3x plus 2, right? I went ahead and I took out the negative sign, so this becomes plus, negative, plus. Change all of the signs there. And that's a lot easier to look at and factor. This right here, I know how that factors. Look, the factors of 2 are -2 times a -1 gives me a +2, and a -2 minus 1 is a -3. So this becomes x minus 2, x minus 1, and so this is equal to a negative x plus 5 times that. So what are all our roots? X is equal to the set -5, 2, 1. And we could check some of these too. -1 minus 2 plus 13 minus 10 equals 0. -13 plus 13 equals 0. That checks out. -8 minus 8 plus 26 minus 10 equals 0. That checks out. That checks out. That checks out. We graphed that. These are the roots, -5 plus 2 and 1. So we can go ahead and we can bring up this over here and say our roots are, what was it, -5, 2, and 1. Great, we've got our roots. Now we have to choose the correct graph below. And the important thing to note here is it's going to cross the x-axis 3 times. So B and D are just straight out. They will not work. So it's between A and C. And we can see right here at -5, it needs to come from above, below -5, which only matches C. only in C is it coming down from the top right here. It's coming down, just like in the picture we were given. This right here, from about here on, this is the picture we were given where it comes down, it hits, and then there's 1, there's 2, just like we needed. Over here for A, it's coming up from the bottom. This is the wrong. This is -1, -1 and -2. That's wrong. This is a +5. That's wrong. The whole thing's flipped and backwards. That's a lousy. It's C. C is our correct response. Sure enough, C is our correct response. We're at 5 minutes. We may as well do the next one of these too. So we've got the graph of the polynomial function f of x is equal to 4x cubed plus 12x squared minus 63x plus 54, and we're given this little graph to look at, and our window is from -10 to 0, right? We can see right here it's -10 to 0 and with increments of 1. So I can count out from -10, -9, -8, -7, -6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, right? So from 0, -1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, -6. So we've got a root when x equals -6. So here's f of x, and f of -6 is equal to 0. Okay, we're going to use a little bit of division, and we're going to find where our next two roots are. So -6, and we've got 4, 12, -63, and 54. Let's block this off. As we do, we'll bring down the 4, and we multiply by -6 to get to -24. Adding up gives us a -12. Multiply to get to 72. Adding gets us a -9. +9, pardon me, +9. Multiplying gets us a -54, and then we get to 0, which again is what we want because it should be a 0 and it should divide out evenly. So that tells us that f of x is equal to x plus 6 times the quantity 4x squared minus 12x plus 9. Uh-oh, that's a tricky one to factor. I'm going to try the AC method. 4 times 9, which is equal to 36. Now I'm looking at the factors of 36, and I need two numbers that multiply to 36 and give me a -12. So that's a -1, and minus 36 is -37, so that's a no. I'm thinking it's going to be what? -6 and -6 gives me -12, right? So this breaks apart into 4x squared minus 12x plus 9 is equal to 4x squared minus 6x minus 6x plus 9. This is equal to 2x times 2x minus 3 minus 3 times 2x minus 3. So this is 2x minus 3 quantity squared. Oh, how about that? I should have seen that. This is 2x squared, and this is a -3 squared. I should have seen that. So f of x is equal to x plus 6 times 2x minus 3 quantity squared. And this has a 0 when 2x minus 3 is equal to 0 when 2x is equal to 3, or x is equal to 3 halves, right? That's when we have a 0. So our graph is going to look a little something like this. We've got this one root out here at -6, and then we've got another root out here at 3 halves. So call this 3 halves. And this -6, it's 4, means our behavior is we're coming up from the left and we're going out the right. So we're kind of going to come up to -6. We're going to kind of go out this way because it's a cubic. This is a -6. It's linear, right? It's to the first power there. So it's just going to pass through it like a line. But over here, this is going to be quadratic. It's going to come in quadratic style, like a parabola. So let's go ahead and let's draw this. It's going to look something like this. That's what our graph's going to look like. So let's see if there's one in the homework that matches it. The zeros are -6, comma, 3 divided by 2. Great. And which one of these graphs is correct? Remember, we said it's the one that has that quadratic root, which this comes up and it strikes down quadratically in between 1 and 2. In between 1 and 2, it acts like a parabola. So this is the answer that we want, response B right here. Sure enough, that's it. Great job, everyone. I will see you next time for more exercises.